Hi everybody. I'm going to be talking about the topic glossophobia and how it can be overcome. To start off, does anybody know what glossophobia is? If you don't, referring to Brinningers, you too can gloss over glossophobia. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking, or in other words, having speaking anxiety. I want to take you guys through some techniques to help overcome this fear, the signs, and my own personal experience and how I overcame my speaking anxiety. There is a big difference when it comes to strong speech and a weak speech. When you think of a strong speech, I want you to imagine what that looks like. What is that person's body language? Referring to Brinningers again, normally when we think of the kind of speech, we think of someone standing tall, speaking loud and clear, and using their body language as emphasis. When it comes to a weak speech, we see a lot more signs of speaking anxiety. The physical signs of glossophobia are sweaty palms, armpit perspiration, shaky hands, and a racing heart. Referring to Dinkel's overcoming the fear of public speaking, many signs that give off a weak speech are looking down, rushing through, and not pausing to take a breath. A weak speech and a strong speech look very different. Now I'm going to get into a video of Lou Gehrig giving his speech at the Yankee Stadium. This will be our example of a strong speech.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad day. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking man as is standing in uniform in this ballpark today? That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
The next video we're going to be looking at is the video of the 10 Things I Hate About You poem. This is going to be our example of a weak speech.
I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair. I hate the way you drive my car. I hate it when you stare. I hate your big dumb combat boots and the way you read my mind. I hate you so much it makes me sick. It even makes me rhyme. I hate it. I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse when you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact that you didn't call. But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
So we can obviously tell the difference between these two speeches, and especially their speaking styles. What makes the first speech strong and the second speech weak is the first speech is where Lou Gehrig is standing confidently and speaking clear into the microphone. He's also speaking that he knows that he's going to die and he's trying to be strong. It's a rough topic to deal with, and he does a very good job at delivering it to a huge crowd of people. It was also his last public appearance. In the second speech, you can tell that it's a weaker speech because she only looks up from her script occasionally, and then she cries and runs out of the room. And I'd say crying during your speech definitely would make it weak because a lot of people normally wouldn't do that. But I think crying definitely makes it weak because it's showing emotion, but also she leaves the room. So these two speeches are great examples of what to do and what not to do. Now I'm going to get into techniques that can help you overcome glossophobia. There are many great techniques to overcome it, and referring to Dinkle, humor is a major technique that can calm your nerves. Joking around and being funny lightens the mood and also engages the crowd. Referring to Naomi's overcoming the fear of public speaking, other great techniques to use are breathing exercises and preparation. These two techniques are important because they make us feel ready. Breathing exercises are one of the most calming mechanisms that can help with anxiety. Also, the feeling of preparedness helps ease the mind. There are so many more techniques to help with speaking anxiety, but these are definitely my top 3. Now I'm going to show you guys a chart. I also decided to include this chart because I like the fact that it shows just how much of the world has speaking anxiety. I know I have speaking anxiety, and it makes me feel better that a lot of other people do too, because I don't feel alone. Referring to the chart, the US is leading with the highest percentage of people with glossophobia at 21%. Then we have India at 12%, the United Kingdom at 8%, Australia at 7%, and lastly Malaysia at 5%. This chart is informative because it gives us an insight that people all over the world suffer from glossophobia. This makes me wonder, what if we included skills at an earlier age so that children can start learning and building up their public speaking skills right off the bat, and it'll make them less nervous. I think it would be a good idea to incorporate these skills at a younger age. I know in my schooling, I didn't get any skills for public speaking. We were just kind of expected to do it. So I think it kind of would be important to try that. Lastly, I wanted to share my personal experience. Glossophobia has been hard to deal with, especially when it comes to being in a public speaking class. I almost felt defeated because this class is required for my program, and I'm really not good at speaking. Although I was nervous, I really put a lot of work in, especially when doing small assignments to break out of my comfort zone. Last year, as a freshman, we had to take the FYE class, and in that class, we had to do a project with 3 other people. I was in a group with all the people I've never met before, and it was hard to work together. Our group had bad communication, so getting this project done felt impossible. When we got to the presentation day, our group was a mess. I got so nervous that I was talking almost like a robot in front of a huge group of people. I also dropped all my note cards everywhere and had to pick them up off the floor. They were all out of order and the group wasn't organized, and it flowed terribly. The best way I can describe this speech was a literal dumpster fire. It was probably the worst experience of my life, and I thought I was going to fail. I mean, we didn't, but it really did feel like it. After that class, I felt really discouraged coming into this class, but I didn't let it really stop me. I worked hard to get to the point I'm at and use the breathing techniques. I always take 3 big deep breaths before I hit the record button, and it honestly really helps relieve a lot of stress and discomfort from doing this. I also like to be overly prepared so nothing can go wrong, and it eases my mind. I like to lighten the mood by being humorous or sarcastic when I make my speeches, or at least I try, and this makes me feel more comfortable when speaking. Overall, I went from barely being able to get through a presentation to now completing this 10-minute speech. Now that's progress. I definitely say I overcame my fear, and I feel a lot more comfortable speaking now than ever. Many people suffer from glossophobia, or also known as speaking anxiety. I know I definitely did, and it was very hard to deal with. But with helpful techniques and knowing what makes a strong speech, it can be overcome. Having glossophobia doesn't define you, and it definitely can be a challenge, but getting out of your comfort zone and working on it definitely makes all the difference. I didn't only work on this every day in class, but I also worked on it in my personal life, and I feel like that also benefited me a lot. My main takeaway was for everyone to know that they aren't alone if public speaking scares them, and to give a little insight on how to become more confident. I hope this was informative, and if I could overcome my fear, you can too.